There's a breed of sheep called the merino, and some of them are killed by their own horns. Not because they were attacked, not because life was too harsh, but because their lives were too comfortable. When horns grow in the wild, they wear down naturally. They scrape against trees. They clash with other animals. They grind against rocks. Friction keeps them in balance. But domesticated merino sheep live differently. They're protected, sheltered, removed from struggle. So their horns keep growing and growing until eventually they curve inward. Some of them literally grow into their own skull. And when I first heard that, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. What if the same thing happens to people? Because the human personality grows the same way horns do, through friction, through conflict, through resistance, through expression. But when someone grows up overly protected, overly conditioned, taught that being agreeable is more important than being honest, something strange begins to happen. Their strength never gets used, so it turns inward. You see it most clearly in people who are too nice, people who learned early on that love comes from compliance, that safety comes from being harmless, that approval comes from never upsetting anyone. They don't argue, they don't assert themselves, they don't test their limits, and slowly, quietly, the very traits that could have made them strong begin to turn against them. It usually starts early. A child grows up hearing things like, "You should become a doctor," "You should be practical," "You should choose a respectable career." And they listen. They become accountants. They wear the suit. They tighten the tie. From the outside, everything looks perfect. But inside they're painters. They want to paint day-glow mountains beside the ocean. They want color, chaos, expression. But instead, they spend their lives holding something up. A giant tail feather of achievements, titles, expectations, approval. And holding that feather up takes effort, constant effort. Their arms begin to shake. And eventually, they can't hold it anymore. That's when the breakdown happens. That's when the mask slips. And underneath the beautiful tail feather, you finally see what's been waiting there all along. A seething ocean of anger, resentment, sadness, disappointment. Not because they're broken people, but because they've spent decades avoiding themselves. And here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no way around that darkness. You have to go through it. For many people, the only time they ever allow themselves to do that is during a complete breakdown. Because a breakdown gives permission. Permission to stop pretending. Permission to collapse. Permission to finally look at what they've been running from. They fall into what feels like a vortex of darkness, fear, grief, rage, regret. And everyone tries to avoid that place. They imagine happiness exists somewhere else, some clean, peaceful garden far away from all this chaos. But that's not how it works. Because underneath that vortex is paradise. Underneath it is love, connection, joy, tranquility. But you don't reach it by avoiding the dark forest around it. You reach it by walking through it. Until you confront the parts of yourself you've been suppressing, you will keep returning to the same emotional place. Sad, angry, confused, wondering why your life feels wrong. You don't escape it by running. You escape it by listening. Let the sadness speak. Let the anger tell you what boundary was crossed. Let the fear reveal what truly matters to you. There's an old line from the Bhagavad Gita. It is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody else's life perfectly. It is better to be an honest street sweeper than a dishonest king. Better to brush leaves off the road at peace than to be a billionaire slowly disappearing inside. And eventually, something cracks. The ego hates this process. The ego wants comfort, control, continuity. But when the story you've been telling yourself finally collapses, truth enters. And truth is not dramatic. It isn't loud. It's quiet, clean, simple. It's the moment you realize who you actually are, beneath everything you've been performing. A lot of personalities are like bones that healed the wrong way. They adapted, they survived, but they're misaligned. And fixing them hurts. Sometimes the bone has to be broken again, reset, realigned. Humans are pain-avoiding creatures, so we run from this. But here's the strange paradox. While we're running away from pain, we're still in pain. It's like being on fire and running away from water. The fire doesn't care how fast you move. So what does it really mean to be yourself? It doesn't mean being impulsive. It doesn't mean rejecting responsibility. And it doesn't mean doing whatever feels good. It means honesty. Honesty about what gives you energy. Honesty about what drains you. Honesty about what you've been suppressing just to remain acceptable. It means letting your horns wear down against reality, instead of letting them curl inward in safety. It means risking disapproval, so you don't slowly disappear. And maybe, just maybe, being yourself isn't about becoming something new at all. Maybe it's about stopping the effort of holding up that tail feather, letting your arms finally rest, sitting by the fire, telling the truth, and allowing yourself, for the first time in a long time, to exist without apology. If this kind of psychology interests you, subscribe to the channel, because every week we explore the hidden patterns that quietly shape human behavior. And sometimes, understanding them is the first step toward finally becoming yourself.